Welcome to the channel. In today's video, we'll be learning about primitive data types. Primitive data types can simply be referred to as basic type of information. When I say basic, I mean the beginning type of information you can start working with in a programming language. In a programming language, you have the basic and the advanced types of information. When we talk about information, this information can be Boolean, which means a true or false value, or it can be a number, which in Solidity it's referred to as signed integer or unsigned integer. It can also be an address or a byte. When we say primitive data types, means we are dealing with an information that is a beginner type. And this information are what I just mentioned. Boolean types of information are either true or false. So I cannot assign a number type of information to it. No, because when creating the variable, I want the variable to hold the Boolean type of information, which means it can only hold true or it can hold false. If I want this variable to hold other number, it will throw an error because I have already declared that the variable should hold a Boolean type of information. Now, if I declare a variable with the Boolean type of information without assigning any value to it, when I say assigning means I state that it is equal to this particular value. That's what it means to assign a value to a variable. This is the variable, but a value is assigned to it, and this value is true, is true value. If you look at this other variable that we declare here, default bool, now nothing is assigned to it, it's just declared. We just declared the variable, and I taught you how a variable is declared in the other video that has to do with variable. So if you want to understand it fully, you can make reference to that video. Now, this bool is declared and no values attached to it. In Solidity, when no values attached to it, automatically the default value that will be given to it will be false. Will be what? False. So because I did not attach any value, I did not assign any value to this particular variable, Solidity will consider the value to be false. So that's what the default variable means. It means that when nothing is assigned to the variable, Solidity the compiler attach a default value to it, which is in Boolean type of information, it is false. But in other type of information, they have what Solidity assigned to it. So this is all about the Boolean type of information. Now let's talk about the other type of information, which is unsigned integer. Now the next one will be unsigned integer. Unsigned integer are number types of information. Now this number doesn't have negative sign. They don't have negative sign. So if you look at this variable we declared called numbers, we say it's of a type unsigned integer. That's what it's called. This uint 252 uint 8. Uint 8 is referred to as unsigned integer of size 8. Now in a different video, I will explain what the sizes are, because this unsigned integer has different sizes: 8, size 32, size 128, and size 256. So it has different sizes, but in a different video I will explain in depth and mathematically what the sizes are and why are they used. Unsigned integer, so we are saying that this variable named numbers has a type of information that is number with no negative sign. So this int variable can only hold numbers with no negative sign. If the numbers have negative sign, the compiler will throw an error, just like you can see here. Compiler will throw an error. So unsigned integer deals with numbers with no negative sign, without negative sign. And I told you that the unsigned integer have different sizes. UNT 256 can store larger number compared to this UNT 8, but both of them are unsigned integer. They cannot store a number with negative sign. Then if you look at this next one, signed integer, this is another type of information that has to do with number. Signed integer, it deals with number, but it refers to numbers with both negative sign and without negative sign. So you can see that this variable here is storing this -1. So a variable that is of type signed integer can store numbers with negative sign. So the difference between signed integer and unsigned integer is that unsigned integer can store numbers without negative sign. Unsigned integer can only store numbers that doesn't have negative sign. But signed integer can store both numbers that has negative sign and that does not have negative sign. The same size goes for signed and unsigned integer. Signed integer also have different size. The size 8 is different from the n 256. The size 8 is different from the size 256. The size 256 can store larger numbers compared to this size 8. So like I said in a different video, I will explain the different sizes for proper understanding. Now let's look at the default value. If you look, notice the previous example we did, the previous example I explained, all the integers, signed and unsigned integers that I have just highlighted, they're all having value assigned to them. So they are having value assigned to them. In a case where no value is assigned to them, just like this one that we are having, in a case where we have no value assigned to them, what will happen? Like we have unsigned integer 256. Now the name is default urent. Now in a case where nothing is assigned to this, the default value will be what? 0. The default value will be 0. The same thing goes for the signed integer. In a situation where not a value is not assigned to it, the default value will be 0. So when I create a variable unt 256 public, I'm creating a variable and I say default value. Now I've created a variable. What will be the value of this sum? Adding both this variable to and this variable together, the value will be 0 because this value, nothing was assigned to this variable, which means that it's by default, because of the data type is storing, by default it's assigned, Solidity assigned 0 to it. And same thing goes for this default int, which means now I used it later on in this part of this in this part, and I said default uint and default end, adding the two variables together. What will be my answer? My answer would be 0 because the first one was not having any value assigned to it. The second one was not having value assigned to it. So by default, their value is 0. So it's like saying 0 plus 0 is equals to what? 0. That's what we are having. So that's what we are having there. Now let's move on to the next data type, which is address data. The address data types deals with unique blockchain address, and it's used to identify either an account or a contract. So when we say address, these data types deals with information about address of either a address of an account or address of a smart contract. So I can only store the address of an account in this variable that is handling data types of addresses. Why the default value is this. When nothing is assigned to it, this will be the default value that Solidity will assign to it on its own. I believe with this explanation, you're able to grab what primitive data types are. And in our next video, like I said, I will explain the different sizes of signed and unsigned integer. So thanks for watching. See you in the next video. Don't forget to like and subscribe.